The other feature from Delta, which really interesting, and I see a lot of people actually using it, is called Delta clones. So what is Delta clones? Suppose you have a table like this T1. There's cases where you wanted to do some operations on this table, but this is a production table and you don't want to touch the production table. So basically you wanted to copy this table in a, or clone this table, call it T1C, like a clone. How we do that in Delta? So you say create table T1 clone, and then T1. So this will clone T1 into T1 clone. So you can maybe do some operations on this, and really helpful. Also, you could use it for archival. Every week you wanted to archive this table in a storage location that you keep it for historical reason. And also maybe this location you can use a cheaper storage, like archival kind of storage, like Glacier in AWS. This is the kind of thing. There is another version of clone called shallow clone. So clone, you can say clone table, this table, or clone shallow. What does this mean exactly? So shallow clone, it only when I say copy here, tables usually have two things, have the metadata and the data. So the metadata and the data. Data is the files of the table. Metadata is like what are the columns, what are the databases, string types, integers, table format, comments about the table, all these things. It's called metadata information. Shallow clone will only copy the metadata. It doesn't copy the data. Shallow clone will refer to the old data. However, shallow clones will have their own delta log or their own, version of the table. So basically, if you create any new updates, deletes in the clone, it will only go to its own delta log. So it doesn't affect the original table. And also the original table, if it has any new updates or deletes, it doesn't affect the clone. So these two tables are like two different, table definitions referring to the same data, but each one have its own delta log. So that means any change in the clone doesn't affect the source, any change in the source doesn't affect the clone, but they are referring to the same table data and same metadata per se. So this is the deep clone and shallow clone. By default, it's a deep clone. So whenever you clone something, it's a deep clone. You use shallow clone only for some limited cases. Whenever you wanted like to maintain your data like is huge, like petabytes, and you wanted to do some changes on the side, you can do shallow clone. So this is a very great feature of Delta, and I see you in the next lesson.